there are more questions that you're writing along the way, you can come on up, Kelly. I see you have one more. We'll go ahead and get started. Good evening and welcome to the Castleberry ISD Candidates Forum. Tonight's Candidates Forum is part of our ongoing voter education efforts to help voters make informed decisions at the upcoming school board election. We hope that over the course of this forum, you will learn more about the candidates and what their views are on public education and how it relates to the vision of Castleberry ISD. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Mr. Alan Pennington. Alan is a native of River Oaks and fifth-generation Texan. He graduated from Castleberry High School as valedictorian of the 1975 class. He received his BBA from Baylor University in December 1977, summa cum laude, with concentrations in finance and economics. In 1981, Alan received his JD, his law degree from Notre Dame, cum laude. Today, Alan is an active commercial trial lawyer here in Fort Worth and is currently the senior advisor to the Castleberry ISD Education Foundation. Let's welcome Mr. Pennington.
Thank you very much, and greetings to everyone in the audience and everyone on Facebook and the other social media outlets. It's really an honor to be here. It's an honor to be asked to assist the district in this important event. Ironically, this is my second involvement in CISD school board politics because my mother, Mary Pennington, ran for a seat on this school board, I believe in 1966. And my mother and my sister and I went door to door to every house in this district putting out brochures for her. She almost won. So thank you for having me. But back to the present. Each of our two candidates will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves in an opening statement, and 3 minutes at the end for a closing statement, and 2 minutes for each general question, of which we have a couple, and 2 minutes for each audience question that you've supplied. And I have these, and I appreciate all of you providing these. Here comes one more. So the opening and closing statements will be done in the order in which the names of these ladies will be on the ballot. Our timekeeper, Mr. Dave Burse. Mr. Burse, if you'll stand up and say hello. As you may know, his daughter is an assistant principal here at the middle school, I understand. So when 30 seconds are left on the timer, Mr. Burse will display a yellow card for 30 seconds left. And that indicates, of course, the candidate has 30 seconds to finish her answer. At 10 seconds, Mr. Burse will display an orange card. The candidate will need to wrap up when she sees the red stop card. So, I'm the moderator, and I have to control this, but if the candidate continues to speak after the stop card is held up, a buzzer will sound. Okay, I'm sorry, let me read that again. If the candidate continues to speak after the stop card is held up, a buzzer will sound. And I, as a moderator, will state thank you and move on to the next speaker. We need that a little closer to the stop card. If we can. Thank you. Let me lay some ground rules. Personal references to the other candidate are not permitted, please. And please note that this forum is live streamed on the district's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter account. Let me provide some ground rules to you as members of the audience who are present. Please do us the courtesy of silencing your cell phones and your smartwatches. And I request that you treat these candidates who are giving their time to run for office fairly and professionally. I would ask that you Do your best to remain quiet throughout this forum. It's an hour long. So if you please, no clapping, cheering, or calling out, with the exception of being after their closing statements, at which time you may applaud both candidates if you wish, but which I highly recommend. There should be and can be no campaign literature or signs allowed in the room during this forum. I encourage you to submit questions for the candidates on the cards located in the back, and as Ms. Smith-Faulkner pointed out, feel free to add any questions during the forum itself. We can accept those after we've gotten started. If you have written out a question that you would like to pose, just raise your hand and we have folks in the back that will spot you and come get that from you. So the school board election officials and officers and staff have reviewed each question that has been submitted for legibility, clarity, applicability, and as to possible duplication of questions. Similar questions which have been asked may be combined so that we can cover a wider variety of topics in the time that we have. I will read as many of your questions as time allows, but you will note very shortly that most of the time for this forum is going to be taken answering your questions, not my questions, okay? At this time, I would like to ask each of our candidates to provide 2 minutes of opening statement. And we'll start with Ms. Ariela Martinez. If you will please introduce yourself and explain to these folks why you will make a great school board member in the Castleberry ISD.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, all. Good evening, and thank you for being here. Spending your time here today, you didn't have to. So thank you for being part of that civic engagement process that is so critical to our school system today. My name is Ariela Martinez. I'm a Fort Worth native. I'm a military wife. I'm an education advocate. Everything I do, live, and breathe is education. I work in the field of education for now over 10 years already. I work directly one-on-one with students, and as I started counting it up, and I was like, wow, we're at like 2,500 students that I've got to work one-on-one with where they want to go, no matter what age they're at. So I work with students middle school, high school, community college, university, graduate students. And one thing I want to remember in that fact is that there's never an age where you stop learning. You're always learning. And so I help a lot of adults come back and learn too. My volunteer efforts are with different things. One of my most recent ones within the last couple of years is teaching computer literacy to adults who don't have that foundation, just want to gain those skills to be able to gain employment. But aside from that, that's one of my favorites. But working with students entirely is really what I live and breathe and do. Aside from that, I went to school at TCC. I started community college. I am so pro education, no matter what it takes for your pathway. Went to TCU, and I have my bachelor's, master's, and working on my doctorate in educational leadership right now. Yeah, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Janice Carrell, would you please introduce yourself and explain why you will make a great school board member in the Castleberry ISD?
My name is Janice Carrell. I lived in the Castleberry district for over 15 years. While our children attended Castleberry, we were very involved in band boosters as well as athletic boosters and any other activity that their friends did. Sean, my husband, graduated from Castleberry in 1997. Our sons, Alex, our oldest one, graduated in 2017, our youngest in 2016. Our daughter-in-law, Abby, in 2015, and Thais in 2019. Our Leah is set to walk the stage at the same high school in 2031. I often feel like the minority of our family because I'm the only one who isn't officially aligned. So, I believe I would make an effective and dedicated school board member. I bring a strong commitment to building the district's positive direction and ensuring every student has access to a quality education while supporting our superintendent to keep Castleberry growing in a diverse and positive way. I'm eager to contribute my skills, knowledge, and passion to help shape a brighter future for our schools and our community.
Thank you. All right. So I have one general question to ask, and I'm going to switch the order each time. And so, Ms. Carrell, again, 2 minutes. What do you feel are the greatest challenges that public schools such as the Castleberry ISD must overcome in the next few years?
One of the main challenges I feel like we should overcome as a district is budget. For those of you who don't know, our funds per student are tied to their attendance, and that has not increased since 2019 for a district as a whole. And then teacher retention. I feel like if we can continue to keep our teachers and our students, of course, benefit from that, and we can keep them, we often keep them by like longevity stipends, attendance incentives, things like that, that ensure that we keep them and that we have the best students for our district. We also have a what is called in the district a Grow Your Own program, and that is where we take people that work from in the Castleberry ISD district and we help them to finish out their degree so they can continue to work for Castleberry after they get their degree in teaching, and we ask for commitment for 5 years. So I feel like those are some of the biggest obstacles and the things that we can overcome as a district.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, 2 minutes, same question. What do you feel are the greatest challenges public schools such as the Castleberry ISD must overcome in the next few years?
First, I want to start with the fact that you are being actually educated with 4 minutes of information. So latching onto that idea that budget is such an issue. Basic allotment hasn't increased from the state level. So instead of repeating all of that, just keep in mind how much schools are not getting the same money and funding that we should be giving. We have to account for inflation, which that hasn't happened. We have underfunded mandates that are happening from the TEA level. And at the same time, we have student achievement that's so important. That is our key role as a school board member. Yes, support the superintendent, exactly what Janice said. You support the superintendent, but student achievement is that key. You have to make sure your students are achieving, and that is what the school is created for. So the challenges, budget, of course, instead of repeating a lot more of that, competition. There's a lot more other educational opportunities for students, and parents want to make the best decision for their students. So you've got private schools, charter schools, online learning. You've got so many different options now, and they won't stop coming. So you have to figure out how do we make sure that our school continues to meet measures that not only is our extracurricular CTE do amazing, fantastic. We get to see so many state-bound and all different levels, but that academic achievement too is so important, as well as their experience. So there's so many facets that are tricky, but I would say even with staff retention, one thing that I always say is exit interviews are always too late. You don't want to be asking after they've exit, put in this time and this resource for why are you leaving. We should be asking that beforehand, and your employees will tell you what you can help fix to help fix the system.
Thank you. Okay, and as promised, we're already going to go into the audience questions. And so this is question number 1, ladies. These are all 2-minute questions. And so, let's see, Ms. Martinez, we'll start with you, going back and forth. And so here's the question. What motivated you to run for the school board, and what will you personally bring to the board?
What motivated me is my passion. My passion for education. Again, that's all I do, live and breathe. I see the detriment when students don't have that solid foundation. So I work at the university level, of course, and students coming in, they get to college, but many don't stay, and they don't graduate, and they don't gain these skills that we set them up for in K-12, and it's not K-12's fault, but there's this path where it's like, okay, well, we set them, they went where they want to go, college, career, military, any pathway that they want to go to, and they're not very well, I guess, that fundamentally have all the basics that they need. And so that kind of goes in tie with many different facets of that. There's many stories, I think, that would come from just working with students, even one-on-one in Castleberry. I've gotten to do that. I want to make sure, I have plenty of time. I've gotten to work one-on-one with students in many different areas to ensure that they are able to get where it is they want to go, but that foundation piece is there. Instead of cycling, can you repeat the question?
Of course. What motivated you to run for the school board, and what will you bring to the board?
So my make sure that the kids are our future, that education is their future, so that motivation always goes with passion. My experience coupled with passion motivates me, and what makes me great is the way that I think, the perspective that I bring, and even then, just the level that I'm at in my understanding, being able to continue that and support the superintendent in doing all that we can do.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Carrell, I'll read the question for you again. What motivated you to run for the school board, and what will you personally bring to the board?
So I started attending board meetings at the beginning of the year in January 2024, and I think just all the things that they entail. I enjoyed, first of all, watching all the kids be awarded for whatever they were doing. Since I've been there, we've had the mariachi band there, and we've had other students be there and be awarded for like spelling bees and things like that, and that just makes me smile immensely to see them all and be congratulated by the board, because I know that as a, when I was once a student, that was an honor, obviously, to be invited to the school board meeting. I feel like to the board, I would bring my knowledge of my kids being in school, having a child in elementary school as part of the Castleberry ISD. And I feel like I work closely enough with her teachers and her principal to be knowledgeable about what's going on in the school, and I think that's what I bring.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, very good. So let's go to question 2. And so, Ms. Carrell, this will be your question to start. What is wrong with the Castleberry High School building so that it needs replacing and renovating?
Some of the structures from the Castleberry High School, in case you don't know, are from the 40s and 50s. So they're very outdated, they're very small, they fit the educational system then, not the way that Castleberry is growing. We also don't have a storm shelter, so that is a safety issue, that if something was to happen, we wouldn't have a place for all of our student staff to go and keep them safe, which is always our #1 priority. And also, it's just very open. I think someone said that they recently walked the campus last year, and it took 7 minutes from getting to one end to the other, which is a long time when they only have a 5-minute passing period. It's very confined, and it just needs to be updated. Also, it would be more secure for our children. The parking lot would be fenced in, which would help. The corridor from the hallway to the lunchroom is open. That would be fenced in. And I just feel like it's really our top priority is safety with our children.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Martinez, same question. What is wrong with the Castleberry High School building so that it needs replacing and renovating?
I'd answer that as not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but what more can we do to enhance and advance opportunities for our students? Again, that goes along with the lines of how I said, just the way that I think wrong is kind of in this mindset of being negative, right? You want to be strengths-based. You want to make sure that you're looking for where can we go in that future focus. Our CTE needs a lot of we can't host some of the programs because the building does not support that at this time. Safety, of course, that's a top priority for students, but also parents. And when you go back to student choice, they want to make sure that their students are safe. But even then, we're just able to provide a more connected experience for students. We've got that transition going to class, coming back, the 90-something door, 94, 96 doors, to be able to help in that safety area as well as just minimizing the square footage that you're taking up on a distance-wise measure. Aside from that, I would honestly say that our students give so much leverage to that, and I would like to, I know this isn't a time to hear from the community, but I would like to hear all the time. That's why as we knock and we talk, I ask too, what do you see as what a school should be? What are we lacking? What would you like to see? Because that, again, goes along with choice that parents and community members are making for their own students.
Thank you. Okay. And so back to you, Ms. Martinez. Question number 3. What is your stance on school vouchers?
So school vouchers are the heat of the discussion right now. That's what is holding up our $5 billion at the legislative level right now. So ABA legislative session just happened. Schools have not received increase in basic allotment. It makes it really hard to be able to pay our teachers any better. We are in the top 4 of pay for teachers. I will say that our team has done fantastic in that area. But it makes it hard to do more with less. So vouchers being in that seat, I do say your parents are going to look for choice again. all of that funding, I do believe, though, should be coming to our public schools, like point blank. So I don't personally support vouchers. Again, parents are going to support what they want for their student, but that is tying up a lot of funds, unfortunately, for our students. But to answer it just easy and quick and yield some time, I personally do not support the vouchers. All of those funds should be coming to our students, because then we have budget challenges that we both are able to talk to.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Carroll, what is your stance on school vouchers?
I don't approve them. I think that vouchers take away from the public education funding and give it to schools that are not held to the same standard as Castleberry is. We have a great public education system, and we take away from the public system in our community. And when we take away from our community, it can damage our community, and that's not what we want as a district or as a whole. We want to grow our community and make sure that all of our children are getting a quality education.
All right. Question 4. Ms. Carroll, how will you publicly support the CISD school board?
I feel like the main way that I can publicly support the school board is to attend all the meetings that are there. While I understand that there's always family emergencies, things we all work, but one of the main ways I can support is to, first of all, prepare for the meeting and to be there at every meeting that I can be to educate myself and always learn more about the district as a whole. And then also just to be part of the community, like being part of events and being part of egg hunts and grand openings and all those things. I think that all those things make for a great board member and make you and allow you to interact with the community, which is a great thing to do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so question number 5. Sorry? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Ms. Martinez, how will you publicly support the CISD school board?
I'd say in all that we do. This relates to the first question that was asked, like what do you bring to the board? What makes you a good board member? Is the understanding of what a board does. You've got your very explicit duties, responsibilities from the federal, from the state level. It covers the superintendent, yes, but policies, budget, all of that. That publicly supports because you've got to know what you're doing. And that means you've got to pour into your own understanding. So part of supporting the school board is me, yes, it takes time to ask questions, but I always say, like, we have a fantastic cabinet. If I don't understand something, I don't feel any inferior to be able to ask a question and they clarify and unpack it so well. So supporting by the work in the boardroom that you do, by the preparation that you do prior to that. Public, of course, is yes, visible, be out there, be with the community, be with the students, be with the parents. But even then, just making sure that you're contributing and collaborating with your board in the boardroom. All of that will come out, right, whenever you have these relationships of trust and transparency, and you're able to publicly come out there based on the dispositions that you bring. So when I talk about dispositions or values, I do think critically. I look at problem solving, not look at, oh, we've got this problem, but oh, well, we're doing good enough. How can we do better? Without bashing what we're doing now, not at all. We're doing good, but how can we do better? And that support goes with the thinking that you do in the boardroom, and of course being visible in there in the public.
Very good. Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Martinez, question number 5, 2 minutes. Describe your commitment to the education of our students. 3 subparts: attending events, preparation of board information, and support of school staff.
Ooh, I feel like I need this one visibly.
Right.
Hold on. Attending events.
Preparation of board information, support of school staff.
You said rate yourself at the beginning of the question?
Describe your commitment to the education of our students in those 3 ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I would describe it as unwavering. No matter how much grit it takes to do the hard work, volunteer work. Some people are very uninformed and they're like, oh, you get paid to do all that. Like, no, absolutely not. This is volunteer work. This is why you're so passionate about the education and you want to be thinking about every student, all students, down to the T. And so part of that is, yes, attending, I attend everything I can attend. And I always wonder, like, I know we can't be everywhere we are, but in every single place, but our board does a fantastic job of kind of dispersing and being there where we can, but at the same time understanding that we are humans. We have a job too, unless I get retired. So one day I'll be retired, but we've got a job. I do a lot of volunteer, but I would say I'm at a good 90% of everything I can be at, and that's nice to the size that we are. In prep, I prep very thoroughly. I will, like I said, submit questions ahead of time as much as I can, just to make sure that we're unpacking and understanding what we're doing, because that goes to supporting and the school board meeting. I can best support as long as I have best informed myself, and that informed decision making process takes time.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Carrell, I'll read it again for you. Describe your commitment to the education of our students. A, attending events. B, preparation of board information. And C, support of school staff.
So I feel like as far as attendance, once again, I just feel like it's being at everything you can be at, just like Ariela said. Obviously, we're all human and we all can't be everywhere, but it's really important to be at things and to make yourself known and for people to know that you're there, especially our students. Like, you want our students to know that we're there and that we're supporting them, whether they're ours or whether they're someone else's. I mean, if we are one of 100 people and we're clapping in the audience and they've been to the boardroom or they've been to the board meeting and seeing us out there, I think that would make a huge difference to any student that was to see us out in the audience cheering them on also, either an event or a ball game or whatever it is. As far as prep for board information, the way that I understand it is most of you all get the board information on a Friday, and you're allowed the weekend to prep. So I believe that if you know when the board meeting is, which the calendar comes out a year in advance, so there's no reason that the prep couldn't occur for those 2 days prior to the board meeting. And the support of the school, I think one of the main ways to support the schools is to interact with the principals. I think that they come to enough board meetings and you're able to interact with them, and just to ask them what's going on, ask them how things are, check with them, because they are what brings the school. So as long as the principal's together, then I feel like as a board member, there's no reason we can't be supporting them.
Thank you. Okay, next question, Ms. Carrell. In what ways have you been of service to public education prior to becoming a candidate in this election?
So as far as public education, I don't have any experience. I'm not a teacher. I'm not anything like that. I believe my public education really came through my children, just by being a mom and being a wife and being part of the district. I'm always very helpful to each teacher that asks me. I respect all of our teachers and all that they do. One of the big ways that I feel that brings me help is that I try to be very encouraging to them. Even now when I message Leah's teachers through Parent Square to just ask a question, one of the ways I always try to end that is, I appreciate all that you do. So I just really try to be appreciative of all the teachers that interact with our students, whether past or present or whoever.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, in what ways have you been of service to public education prior to becoming a candidate in this election?
So I'm a product of public education, and I will say I didn't know that education was my passion until I got in when I went to college and struggled. And I noticed so many different ways to be able to, yes, help myself. That was using resources. That meant proudly saying I need help and utilizing resources. But the way of service has been, ever since actually I've been in college, I helped lots of support programs with students accessing services, making sure that, peer-to-peer has a lot of influence more than adult-to-a-peer. And so we utilize different strategies to have students come out and use their services. So both in college, but also out. I've worked with students, of course, yes, my 12 years in education at all levels. Speaking at elementary career days, I don't even necessarily count that, and not in a bad way, it's good influence. But working directly with students at that middle school, high school, all the college level, and even adult learners, public education has been the fundamental piece of all that I do. So on the volunteer side, different organizations that are now in Castleberry. Since I've been here, we now have Girls Inc., T3, different organizations to be able to help all students. So the service piece is in various ways. Being asked to speak to students as a whole and as a group by various schools, I always move my data around to be there for the students. I make sure I plan ahead. I have really good time management, but plan ahead to be there to speak to students, speak to parents, but also just all the volunteer work that I do outside my role.
Thank you. I'll come back to you, Ms. Martinez, for the next question. How will you publicly support the school bond?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying.
Sure.
Well, and I also have to ask, Renee, I don't know if we have any stipulation on, okay. There's been so much heat with bond and people calling and saying, you can't say this and you can't say that. Well, publicly supporting it is being out and about. So right now is, of course, campaign season, so we're out knocking and talking anyway, but informing voters about it, addressing misconceptions. So it's very different when someone just has a view that you're absolutely not going to hear me and you're going to block me off. I understand that. I'll respect that. We're not at a time where we can collaborate. So for those who really do want to learn about the bond, I do take that time to unpack it and educate it. I make myself very available to do that. But at the same time, I don't want them just talking to me. I challenge them to go talk to everyone that you can so that their questions can inform your thought process too. Our superintendent is a really good resource, probably honestly the best resource they can come to, but in supporting the superintendent, I'm not trying to send everyone to her either. But we have a great board chair also, Janice took with the board right now, the bond right now. So just making sure that I do my part in doing all that I can to unpack and educate, but at the same time, and that's door to door, that's in large groups, whatever it is, but also guiding them to other resources to inform their thought process.
Thank you. Ms. Carrell, how will you publicly support the school bond?
So just back to Don and his efforts to make people more knowledgeable of the bond. We have had meetings and we have had events that we've been at, that we've set up tents and that we've talked to our community members, and that has all been fun and good. And then another way that I support the bond is that anything that's posted on social media, we had a great video come out today about the CISD bond. I lead people back to the website. I encourage people to talk to me about it once again, just like Ariela said, so we can have fact-based things in the community's head and not just what they're seeing. But I encourage them to go to the website, to look at the current video that we have. I share all those things on my own social media. And then I encourage people just to talk to me.
Very good, thank you. Okay, Ms. Carrell, this next question. How will you ensure day-to-day operations of the district will be functioning effectively while weeding through the optics? Can you repeat it?
Yes.
How will you ensure day-to-day operations of the district will be functioning effectively while weeding through the optics?
I think one of the ways to make sure that day-to-day operations get done effectively is, once again, just to communicate with our principals and our staff. Our principals do great things at each board meeting. Apparently they do a check-in 3 times a year at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year. And I think that doing those things really help for us to continue with what we're doing, but also as a board member, visiting the schools. Going to things like, I see them on social media as they go out for Board Appreciation Month and they sit with kids, and kids really enjoy that. And just being interactive with the students and being one-on-one with them and spending time with them so they know who the board members are and so they know who they can come to.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Martinez, how will you ensure day-to-day operations of the district will be functioning effectively while weeding through the optics?
So first of all, I think this is a great question, but in a sense, it's kind of a trick question because a board member's role is not to look at day-to-day operations. I'm not ensuring day-to-day operations. The superintendent does that. And everyone who are in the schools are part of that leadership under the superintendent. A board member does nothing with day-to-day operations and ensuring anything in that piece. So weeding through the optics, it's answering and in a sense not answering, because I weed through the optics because I know that's not my role. A board member is to govern, and we work with the superintendent on goals and priorities, and we set those well in advance, and we're looking at monitoring those goals, and things like that, policies, rate. It goes to what I said we do earlier, but day-to-day operations is absolutely not something we should be sticking our hands in. We need to trust the people that we have in those roles to do that work. So when you have great staff like CISD does, I'm very hands-off. Day-to-day is not where my hands should be at all. But yes, I can visibly be at things and supporting, but not for day-to-day in a sense. And I actually personally, out of respect, I've worked in the school system before, in the public education system, and I know how sometimes messy it can be. I don't know a better word to put it, how crazy it can be. So I would respect the staff in the sense to say, I'm not just gonna pop up, I'm not just gonna show up. I think that puts pressure and it puts a lot of kind of anxiety in some spaces just because of board members here. Again, I'm just an individual wanting to be here for students, but I'm not at all wanting to add to stress, anxiety. So you'll know, I will be there for events 100% of the time that I can make it. And that is most times, but day to day, I'm hands-off.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Martinez, next question. Biggest future challenges for retaining students at CISD?
This goes hand in hand with how I said earlier, so many more options for students and for parents. So yes, you've got public schools, you've got not just right here, sure, distance is great, but if they are experiencing things like bullying, or they don't feel like it's a great experience for them, the parent might feel that, who knows what, then they're gonna seek outside, and there's so many other resources. There's so many schools also offering open enrollment because they're losing students too. We thankfully don't have that problem right now. Our enrollment has been increasing for the last 3 years, so ever since 2021. But all that to say too, people are also having less and less children. So that means at some point we're gonna get that decline again, and we have to be aware and stay relevant with what's going on in the education landscape. So public school, charter school, all that. I say get ahead of it. When I mention being forward thinking, I'm always looking at solutions because we know, if we know that there's a birth rate decline, we know that there's other options, what else can we be doing to keep those students? So future challenge of enrollment decreasing is just the reality. So we've got to face it, we've got to look at solutions head on, but that I will say, I don't like to only have those conversations at the boardroom. We need to be working with our educators. We need to do our due diligence as a board to educate ourselves and what role do we have as a board. But even then, just asking questions, it goes back to asking questions. I do ask questions because that's how I learn and that's how I can contribute. And I'm not ashamed to say that. When you're not asking questions, you're sitting there with one mind. So I love when multiple people ask questions so we can help each other learn.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Carrell. Biggest future challenges for retaining students at CISD?
I feel like some of the biggest future challenges for retaining students would be if we do not stay on board and up to date with all the education that we offer. There's so many things that are offered through our junior high and our high school, vocationally, educationally, you know, all the things that are offered that we offer for our students at the high school level, and then so many other activities. But I feel like you know, the way to overcome those challenges is just to continue to get our name out there, continue to get out how great our students are and all the programs and all the things that we're doing, and just to continue to just get the Castleberry name out there and how great the district really is.
Thank you. Okay. So, Ms. Carrell, next question. This is a little bit of a long one. I'm happy to read it twice if you need to. Which is more important, a focus on politics and community involvement, or the day-to-day operations of the district? How will you ensure the focus and balance between these two things is in the right place?
Can you read it one more time?
Absolutely. Which is more important, a focus on politics and community involvement, or the day-to-day operations of the district? How will you ensure the focus and balance between these two things is in the right place?
I think as far as politics and community go, I feel like those are two separate things. Like you can't really put them together. I mean, we can take But everyone has their own set term of politics. So, I mean, as far as putting them in the community, we really can't do that, I don't feel like, because everyone has their own opinion. But as far as the day-to-day operations go, just like Ariela said, I mean, that's not really the board's job to be involved in that, so we're gonna trust that to the people that are in charge of that, and we're going to leave that to them.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Martinez, I'll read it for you again. Which is more important, the focus on politics and community involvement or the day-to-day operations of the district? How will you ensure the focus and balance between these two things is in the right place?
Long question, also appreciated, but yes, day-to-day is not our goal. So day-to-day is not the important piece, but I would also say the community involvement is a huge part of that. Supporting superintendents, supporting our staff, supporting our students. So that one's easy to answer in the sense of the community involvement piece of it. And that means though making sure that again, you're educating yourself, you're informing yourself, different types of dispositions that come with that, being that mind of being a critical thinker, being able to have discourse and discussion about things and not these kind of ideas of, oh, we've always done it this way. Like, okay, that's great that it has possibly worked to some extent, but again, that future focus, if we didn't have our eyes on enrollment dropping off at some point, we wouldn't be concerned with that. We would keep doing what we always do. It's answering a lot more, but I want to take advantage of the time, but just to answer the question, I guess to yield some time back, community involvement, because day-to-day is not our job.
Thank you. Okay, I have one more question up here. Do we have any more coming? Okay. So Ms. Martinez, school board is a volunteer role. Tell us about your experience volunteering and your education.
I'm trying not to repeat the wheel with this. My experience volunteering in various areas, of course, I will say actually, instead of repeating in some sense, it is not just in education. I actually volunteer a lot for food banks. My father is handicapped, so I like to ensure that any space and time that I can to be able to help out in that sense too. Any type of food drives, I will take a vacation day to just go volunteer and be in spaces. So the volunteering piece is, of course, in that academic mindset, but even then, making sure that I disperse different ways. So one thing that I do every year, I chair a conference every year, and we bring over 200 students along with their parents from 16 different schools. This year was the number. And we host various different leadership and academic and different classes and things, workshops they can attend to learn and focus on themselves. Parents also, because I'm a big advocate of just education in general. You do not stop learning at any age. And so with that conference, we get to bring over speakers about leadership and how do you communicate and how do you do it professionally and how do I talk with my professors or my teachers. So being able to bring people together and be in a space because they are there because they want more. They want that piece of education. So about over 200 students this year. Last year, same thing. We cap out at that. So it's a sellout event every year. But that is one that I'm really proud of. On top of, like I said earlier, teaching adults for basic literacy in the computer space. So how to function a computer. It sounds very basic, but that takes a lot of patience to work with people one-on-one because that's individualized instruction, which is a whole nother challenge in public education as well, too.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Carrell, school board is a volunteer role. Tell us about your experience volunteering and your education.
So as far as volunteering goes, we have a 10-year-old, so obviously there's not a lot of time for that. I do try to volunteer at anything that I can. My company works closely with Saving Hope, which is a fostering dog, fostering animal place, and so anytime that we have anything at work or for Saving Hope, I do try to volunteer with that. I do enjoy it immensely because I like pets. As far as my educational experience, I feel like that came from being a mom. I graduated high school and went into the server industry, quickly became a management trainee within a couple of years, and I feel like my educational experience just went from me teaching myself how to grow up, how to be a mom, and how to be a wife, and how to do those things well, because I feel like our children in their early 20s are very successful for their ages, and we're very proud of them.
Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes our questions from the audience. Thank you for all the questions. Those are all very good. We will now have the candidates give their closing remarks. As a reminder, ladies, you have 3 minutes each, and we're going to start with you, Ms. Carrell.
So my main reason for why I want to do this is, for those of you who don't know me, our great niece Leah came to live with us in the summer of 2020, which many of us know was a COVID year. She started at George Ames Elementary. We drove through to get her first netbook. Months later, they opened up the school and allowed us to go to school if it was an option for us, and that was what we wanted for her, so she could begin to make friends. She started the school, and immediately when she started with her wonderful teachers there, we realized that she learned differently. By the end of her second grade year, she was diagnosed with dyslexia, and by the beginning of her third grade year, she had all the tools and resources that Castleberry offers to make her the person that she is today. She is reading on a great level now, and we are very, very proud of her, as always, with STAR testing and just all the accommodations that the district offers for us to be able to utilize as a guardian. So, and those are things that we never utilized when our boys were in school because they didn't learn like that. I'm dedicated to advocate for our students, educators, and community, and I'm ready to ensure that every child has opportunities for growth as well as a wonderful education in the public school system.
Thank you. Hey, Ms. Martinez, you have 3 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. I know it's not this huge crowd, but the fact that you're here really does stand out. I'm pretty sure we'll remember all the faces here today. Honestly, I love what I do with education. I love being able to be in spaces to lead in the sense that, again, that thinking, all that process that goes on. But one thing that I always think of too is, again, my husband and I don't have kids. We have 6 family members in Castleberry. We get to see them at all these different levels. We get to see them struggle. We get to see them kind of in triumph for them in their achievements. But at the same time, it's not just that student, right? And it's not Castleberry. We are doing great compared to peer schools. I want to make sure that's clear. We're doing great compared to peer schools, but even then, it's just wanting to be able to contribute more, wanting to utilize my passion for education, along with my leadership and the experience that I have, and have it serve at the board, should the community want that. I really do, aside from the committees that I volunteer on, I'm at different levels, national committees for scholarships, local committees for scholarships, all of that I get to see, again, education and how it led those students to those opportunities, and how we can continue to advance our own students to do that. I know I said my academic background is on education. My master's is actually in counseling, in school counseling. I'm a certified school counselor, also licensed professional counselor background. So a lot of what I do is not just looking at process, I look at people. And that's part of being a servant leader. You are serving people, you're serving students, you're serving the staff who are part of the system, who are serving our students. And so whenever you have that value and strength of, actually at work recently we did a kind of strengths-based questionnaire, and my strength came out, they came out and everyone got to guess who was what, which strength was yours. And they were spot on with mine. My strength was discernment. I have a really good lens of looking at things and saying, yes, we'd like to do that, that'd be great, but hold on, let's back up. What do we need to do? What is it going to take to do that? How do we support what we need to support? And that's where I will say, I know Renee, an accountant, and our teachers have such difficult jobs that I just want to be there to be able to support, to get our students where they need to go, utilize my strengths of discernment, education, my background, all of that, to ensure that I'm contributing where I can, especially while I have all of this energy to do that. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 very qualified candidates here who I think we all see are ready, willing, and able to serve this district. Let's give them a hand.
Dave, would you like to say something?
All right. She's asked me to keep talking, which is very easy for me to do. So I just wanted to make a couple of comments briefly, you being a graduate and all. I've gotten to know Ms. Smith-Faulkner and her staff very well over the past few years working on the foundation board. We are very lucky to have her and have the staff that she has. In roughly 65 years, somebody may correct me, that this district has been in existence with a high school. I'm not sure that the district has ever been in better hands than with Ms. Smith-Faulkner and her staff. And tonight I didn't ask the questions, I didn't ask the candidates the hardest question, really an unfair question, but I pose it to all of you who took the time and the energy to get here. What is more important today to our families and our society than the time and resources that we put into our children's education? I submit the answer to that question is an important one, because education in large measure, as we all know, is the proven key to a demonstrably better chance in life to find happiness, stability, economic comfort, and good citizenship. So I did a little research over the week, and again, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for putting up with me. But I want to leave you with 5 quotations that I think you may be able to take with you based on my research. And they are as follows. The first is a Tibetan proverb: a child without an education is like a bird without wings. Confucius said, education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. Martin Luther King Jr. said this about education: intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. John F. Kennedy, who some of us saw go down the boulevard on November 22nd, 1963, stated, the goal of education is the advancement of knowledge and the dissemination of truth. And finally, no less of a scholar than Dr. Seuss. He of the fame of Green Eggs and Ham and Cat in the Hat. Dr. Seuss said, the more you read, the more things you will know. The more that you know, the more places you will go. Thank you for having me. I appreciate all of you coming. Go Lions.
Again, I would like to close this forum by thanking all of the candidates for their participation tonight in tonight's forum. I know it can be a little nerve-wracking up here as they're asking questions, and for having an interest in serving our community, because it is, as Ariela said, volunteerism. Also, a special thanks to our moderator, Mr. Alan Pennington, and I promise I did not pay him to say that. That was a surprise a while ago, those kind words. So thank you, Alan, for that. And our timekeeper, Mr. Dave Bierce, who has attended these and helped us with these events. Please remember, early voting begins on Monday, April 22nd, and the final day to vote is Saturday, May 4th, not March, I don't want to go back that way, May 4th. Thank you, and everyone have a great night.